So it is day 15 of Alan's keynotes study streak, and let us begin with the next set of remedies from Alan's keynotes. We have finished, I think, almost 20 odd remedies or 25, and we are learning all the remedies in connection with each other, starting from the first remedy, and then we went according to the relationship of the remedies. So today we have to discuss something which we is related to the remedies which we discussed yesterday. Yesterday we discussed about bryonia, phytolacca and rustox. So there are remedies which are in many ways connected to these three remedies. One of the remedies which is connected to phytolacca is Kali bichromicum. So Dr. Poonam Homeopathy, hello, and hope if you have Alan's keynotes with you, you can just open Kali bichromicum and we'll study along to find out what can be, you know, the best clinical symptoms and how we will be able to see them in our clinic. So consider you have a case who is fat, chubby, child or adult who has some or the other affections of the nasal or the respiratory tract or gastric tract, and you are planning that if I could give this person calcarea cup because he is very much chubby, very much fair, very much perspiring also. So in those cases where you think that calcarea like personality is there, but he has come to you with acute complaints, think about Kali bichromicum. So the first line in Alan's keynotes, what we have for Kali bichromicum says fat, light-haired persons who suffer from catarrhal, syphilitic or soric affections. Now interestingly, the first word which is mentioned is syphilitic and the second word is mentioned is soric. So it gives a predisposition towards syphilitic conditions and also a hint of soric conditions. Fat, chubby, short-necked children or people who are disposed to croup or respiratory tract conditions and croupy affections. Affections of the mucous membranes, eyes, mouth, throat, bronchi, intestinal, genitourinary tracts, anywhere there are lot of thick mucosal discharges, then there is predisposition to think about Kali bichromicum. There is discharge of thick, tough, stringy mucus which adheres to the parts and can be drawn into long strings. So, you have to understand certain individuals will develop conditions after a few days. They will develop conditions which have thick yellowish discharges. Okay, some people will develop it immediately on the first day. It depends on their predisposition, their innate qualities, okay, their constitution. So we have that onset, duration and progress. If sometimes you have the patients landing directly into a state where there are thick discharges, yellowish discharges, mucous membranes are very much thick, stringy, can be drawn into long strings, think about the remedy which is Kali bichromicum. Okay. Similarly, you can also think of the remedy which is hydrastis and lycinum. Okay, there is a comparison. Now the next line what you say is that what you see is complaints occurring in hot weather. So you have complaints which happen in hot weather conditions. It can be after the phase when the first monsoon has come, and it is a period where there is lot of heat, or it can be a proper summer weather which happens. Rheumatism alternates with gastric symptoms, one appearing in the fall and other in the spring. So there is a beautiful thing about alternating symptoms, and just because we don't see them consecutively one after the other, we may tend to miss out on the we may tend to miss out on the picking up the symptoms uh, from the patient. What Kali bichromicum has, which we are studying now, is something that happens in one season and then happens in the next season, and that is why patients will often tell that mostly in this weather I have this complaint, and in the next weather I have this complaint. So one symptom or one complaint, rheumatism, happening in the fall, or it's the time when the leaves of the trees are falling, the weather is getting clearer, and the other happens in the spring when there is blooming of flowers, of some all the leaves and plants. So this is one type of alternating. The other type of alternation which we see is rheumatism alternates with dysentery. And the other remedy which we have in the bracket, the first remedy that we discussed, is abrotenone. So I see many people who have joined on YouTube and Instagram, and Dr. Sheshav Kumar, how to join you, sir. So you can see the other posts on my channel which say about the number which you need to contact for joining my courses, so you can go through it. Meanwhile, we are studying about Allen's keynotes, and this is day 15, and we are studying remedies in a sequence which are related to each other. The last remedy which we studied were Bryonia, Phytolacca, and Lustox, and today we are discussing Kali bichromicum and then the next two remedies. So next we have in Allen's keynotes for Bryonia, for Kali bichromicum, pain in the small spots can be covered with the point of finger. The other remedy mentioned is Ignatia. Shift rapidly from one part to the another. Also we have the remedy which is Kali Sulf, Laccan, and Pulsatilla. So these remedies usually have complaints in one part, concentrated in one single part, single locality, and it is not spread out on the entire certain organ or the entire abdomen or entire respiratory tract or lungs, but only in one part, one small part. Patients will come and tell you that there is cough, I'm having pain over here, single spot. Think about Kali bichromicum. What is interesting about Kali bichromicum is that pains appear and disappear also suddenly, like belladonna, ignatia, and macphos. Again, we have the next symptom which is showing the periodicity also. So neuralgia every day at the same hour, chininum sulf is the other remedy. Sexual desire absent in fleshy people. This is also very interesting symptom which we see. Next we have Kali bichromicum from Allen's keynotes, mentioned as about headache. There is blurred vision or blindness precedes the attack. So there is blindness before the attack. Okay, something similar we saw in also natramute. The other two remedies mentioned over here are gelsimum and lacdifloritum. Over here the patient needs to lie down. There is aversion to light and the noise, and sight returns as the headache increases. So it is something like when the headache starts, there is lot of blurry vision, lot of blindness which comes before the headache starts. As the headache increases, the blindness improves and the vision is clearer and the headache is bad. So you will have this description in patients who have migraine. The other two remedies, three remedies in fact we have over here, are iris, natramur and lac difloritum. Next we have in nose, there is pressive pain in the nose, root of the nose, in forehead. If it is in the forehead over here and the root of the nose, the remedy is ticta. There is discharge of plugs and clinkers, lots of uh, mucous membranes which are conjoined together in the what do you say, in the expectoration of the patient, that will give you the indication for chylomicromicum. There is tough, ropey, greenish mucous fluids in clear masses and has the violent pain from occiput to the forehead if the discharge ceases. So when the headache, when the discharge gets better, the headache increases. Now it is very much obvious when the discharges or the nature of discharges are mentioned by any author. We need to see how the description of the discharges are there, and if these descriptions have been mentioned, we need to see and ask the patient about those discharges. We need to ask about the urine, we need to ask about the stool. You can ask about the images, because now it's the time when we all have phones and we can go through it. Earlier times, if you read the texts of various talbots, you will see that they have mentioned that I went and saw so and so thing which had happened in the bedside of the patient, and then I decided to give this remedy. So it's a time when we have more sources available. We can decide on the remedy by using social media as a tool. In Calibicromicum, we have ulceration of septum. The remedy is syphilitic. We saw in the very first line it was mentioned, with bloody discharge or large flakes of hard mucus. The other remedies mentioned are alumina, sepia, and teucrium verumarum. There is edematous bladder-like appearance of the uvula. So whenever we examine such patients, it is not always that you will have thick discharges. It is not always that patients will tell that there is pain in the nasal bones. It is not always that patients will be looking fat and then you will decide that calibicromicum needs to be given. But it can also happen that their throat is inflamed, and it is inflamed to such a degree that you can see that there is a lot of swelling but no redness. That is calibicromicum. This is also there in rust ox. So wherever you see such patients who have a lot of post-nasal cough, or this kind of a pathology in the throat developing, and there is lot of discharge, thick discharge, yellowish discharge, or the discharge is just beginning to get thickened but there is lot of profuse nasal catarrh, think of calibicromicum. Going further, we have diphtheria, pseudomembranous deposit, firm, pearly, fibrinous, prone to extend downwards to the larynx and trachea. If the reverse happens, the remedy is bromium. So colds that travel upwards, bromium can be thought, Merck salt can be thought. Colds that travel downwards, calibicromicum can be thought, laccan can be thought. Cough which is violent, rattling with gagging from viscid mucus in the throat, especially when the patient gets removes the clothes or he is exposed to the air when he is removing the clothes, just like hepar sulf. In fact, also we have this same thing in rumex. There is croup, which is hoarse, metallic, with expectoration of tough mucus or fibroelastic casts in the morning. On awakening with dyspnea, better by lying down. Now, if those who are viewing this right now, and you have Kent repertory with you, you can just open this particular chapter of uh, throat and pain. The rubric is pain. In the throat chapter there is rubric pain, and if you see pain, aching or sore throat, pain morning waking on, there are only 4 remedies. Okay, one of the remedies is calibicromicum. So this is my type of confirming the remedy in patients who come with complaints of cold, cough, throat complaints, which are very much generalized. You cannot think about a remedy. but you make your own landmark. So my landmark is that if you have pain in the throat on waking, the remedy is Kali Bichromicum. The other remedies being causticum, rustox. Causticum will not be able to bring out the cough. It will come till the throat and go back. Whereas Kali Bichromicum will be able to bring out. Rustox will have the causation, strong causation which we always see. And the other things that we need to confirm about the throat complaints. But if there is aggravation in the morning, think about Kali Bichromicum. Deep eating ulcers in the fauces, often syphilitic. So you have throat pathologies which are bordering towards grave or getting worse. Think about Kali Bichromicum. Gastric complaints, bad effects of beer, loss of appetite, weight in the pit of stomach, flatulence aggravated soon after eating, vomiting of ropey mucus and blood, round ulcer of stomach. All these contribute to thinking about Kali Bichromicum. So, if any complaints that happen right from head to the toe, giving you thick mucus discharges, ropey discharges, think about Kali Bichromicum. Prolapsus uteri, seemingly aggravated in the hot weather. And general aggravation for Kali Bichromicum we see in hot weather. Skin symptoms are better in cold weather, which is reverse of alumina and petroleum. Now you can compare Kali Bichromicum with bromium, hepar, iodum in respiratory complaints, and if it is gastric complaints, compare it with cantharis and carbolic acid in gastric complaints. If you have given some patient calcarea carb and you're thinking to give some acute to the patient, there are two satellites which Clark mentions in his book. One of the satellite is belladonna, another remedy is rustox. You can also think of Kali Bichromicum as one of the satellites where a lot of mucus discharges happen. And Entim-tart is kind of an extension of this remedy, but if uh, if the patient does not get better with Kali Bichromicum, think about Entim-tart as a remedy in skin and the nasal catarrh. So next remedy which we will cover, which is not related to some remedies that we are discussing right now, but since it is there in a sequence, the Kali group, we will discuss it. Kali bromatum, a very small remedy, adapted to large persons who are inclined to obesity. So second time in the second remedy, you are reading about obesity. So you see that in natrums, when we discussed all the natrums, we saw that there was mention of people who are thin, who crave for salt, who have lot of aggravation from heat, etc., etc. There was a commonality. Once you observe this commonality, and once you are able to figure out the differences and the comparison with the other remedies, you will be able to progress much faster in thinking about and finalizing about remedies than the normal way of thinking. So in Kali bromatum again we have obesity, which is a predisposition for medicine to act. It acts better in children than in adults. Fits of uncontrollable weeping and profound melancholic delusions. There is loss of memory, forgets how to talk, absent-minded, has to be told the word before he could speak. This is like anacardium. So they are busy in their own world, they don't know what's happening, and they suddenly have to be told what you have to speak. Now this happens mostly in cases which are very much progressed further in the what do you say, in pathologies or in mental traumatic cases. Depressed, low, anxious, spirited, uh, depressed, low spirited, anxious rather than that, and feels as if they would lose their minds. Restlessness and sleeplessness due to worry and grief. loss of property or reputation from business embarrassment. So Kali group of remedies will usually have something that is related to work and achieving that work and getting a failure in the work. And that is why we have one of the interesting things that fights for his bread and butter. It's mentioned in Kalikab, in Kent, in Borik, everywhere you will see for Kalikab that they fight with the family, with the friends for bread and butter, because they want to somehow achieve that security. And that you can see also in Kalibrom now, that there is some business worry which causes restlessness and sleeplessness. So there is a commonality. If you see, obesity is there, the desire for work or something happened due to work which bothers them. Then we have night terrors of children like Califos, or the other remedy being Califos. Grinding of teeth in the sleep, screams, moans, cries, horrible dreams, cannot be comforted by friends, somnambulism. We saw this in Silica also. So you have Kali bromatum, which is like a obese silica, you would say, and with some traits of Kali, some traits of anacardium, and some traits of bryonia, which is business related, etc. etc. Going further, you will have stammering, slow, difficult speech. Bovista and stramonium are the other two remedies. They are very nervous people, restless, they cannot sit still, they must move about or be occupied. So they will come and they'll put their hands on something in your clinic, they'll play with it, fiddle with it, or else they will remove something from their own pocket and fidget with it, so that they can be occupied and they can uh, keep their anxieties under control. Next we have something which is very pathological, first stage of hydrocephaloid. So it is a very clinical acumen which you need to pick up from the patients, but once you do it, it will be easier for you to prescribe calibromatum in hydrocephaloid cases. Nervous cough during pregnancy, dry, hard, almost incessant, threatening abortion. The other remedy being conam. In fact, I have also given Rumex to patients who have had cough during pregnancies, and they have improved very faster than normally expected. In calibromatum, we have cholera infantum with reflex irritation of the brain before effusion. Uh, yeah, and you have daily colic in the infants about 5 a.m. and if it happens at 4 a.m. the remedy is colocynth and lycopodium. In the nervous system we have loss of sensibility, facies, larynx, urethra, entire body staggering, uncertain gait, feels as if legs were all over the sidewalk. They don't know how do they balance, how do they control. There is nervous insensibility and there is incoordination of muscles like we see in gelsemium. There is nervous weakness or paralysis of motion and numbness. There is spasms from fright or emotional causes in nervous plethoric persons during parturition, that is during pregnancy or delivery time, and also during teething, whooping cough and Bright's disease. So any paralytic symptoms or spasms during those phases, think about calibromatum. There can be patients who will land up in your clinic, especially children who will have epileptic seizures. Calibromatum can be one of the top remedies. Epilepsy, congenital, syphilitic, tubercular, usually a day or two before menses. At new moon, headache follows the attack. So it can be indicated in children who have epilepsy. It can be indicated in women who have epilepsy before the menses. Hands and fingers are in constant motion like this, fidgety hands. If there is only fidgety feet, think about zincum. Fidgety hands, think about calibromatum. There are other remedies as well. Twitching of the fingers, mostly something is nerving like this. And calibromatum is one of the top remedies for people who have acne, especially acne indurata, acne rosacea, bluish red pustular on the face, chest, shoulders, and they leave very bad scars like the remedy carboanimalis, and it happens mostly in patients who are young and fleshy persons of gross habits, so they have usually not keeping themselves in a healthy way. Now there is a very small and beautiful remedy mentioned in boric. It is not mentioned over here for acne. The remedy is eugenia jambusa. So in the relationship of kali bromatum, you can see that it is mentioned often curative after eugenia jambusa in acne. So you can say that first stage of acne you can think of eugenia jambusa, second stage you can think of kali bromatum. When the first remedy doesn't work, think about the second remedy. Kali bromatum also helps in cases of lead poisoning if you are working or having patients from the industrial area. The last remedy which we will discuss today, which is Kali Kav. Now I don't know how many people attended yesterday's session which was on bryonia, but for you to tell you that if there are patients who land up at first in your clinic in with complaints of cold cough, dry cough which they cannot bring out, joint pains, you are giving bryonia, and then they are satisfied with the treatment and you want to continue. They are look like obese, they are fat, they go to work religiously, they have their own principle standard of work. Think about Kalikab as their constitutional prescription. So bryonia and Kalikab are kind of very complementary remedies. They work well one after the other. So we'll read Kalikab right now. So again we see the mention of incline to obesity. So there is a kind of a linear fashion which you see. There is in the natrum group we saw some similarities about the natrum group of remedies. Over here in Kali, especially in Kalikab again, we are reading that there is a tendency to obesity like ammonium carb and graphitis. In fact, this element of obesity you will find in all the carbon remedies, but here you will see that there is more indication for obesity because it it is predisposed to act on people who have dropsy or paralysis and dark hair, lacks fiber and inclined to obesity. Great aversion to being alone, so you just need to figure out from the patient whether he can stay with people or he can stay alone. If you find that he cannot stay alone, think about Kalika, one of the very strong remedies, top remedies in Kent repertory for company desire for alone being aggravates. The other remedies being arsenic. Every remedy has their own way of being with that person. Arsenic fears mental anxiety, that is why they need to be there with someone. Lyco and Kalika want support, that is why. And bismuth fears being alone, that is why. On the contrary, we have some remedies which want to be alone all the time on their own. Remedies are ignatia and naxonica. So in patients who have lot of loss of fluids or vitality, particularly anemic people, patient coming up with some blood reports which are showing lack of blood corpuscles, RBCs are deficient, or MCV values are haywire, think about Kali Carb. Other remedies, in fact, you can also think as China, sorinum, phosphoric acid and phosphorus. All these remedies will help in increase their blood if they have been chronically affected with it, and it's a deep acting remedy. Okay. Pains are stitching, darting, worse during rest and lying on affected side. Similar phenomena we saw in bryonia as well, and but they have better during rest and lying on painful side, whereas over here we have worse during rest and lying on affected side. cannot bear to be touched. So least touch to any part, especially the feet. We have a very classical case mentioned by Kent in his lectures, which says that by touching the feet of the patient got alarmed, and that's where I had to stop the examination. So Kali Carb has lot of aggravation by touching the feet. After taking the case, if you find by on examination of the patient that there are no abnormalities, but you want to give Kali Carb somehow, just let them let you know let them lie down and just touch their feet or examine it in some way. If they get aggravated, then think of Kali Carb as one of the top remedies. Very much inclined to take cold, again Kali Carb. Nosebleed when washing the face in the morning, ammonium carb and arnica are the two remedies. Bag like swelling between the upper eyelids and the eyebrows. The eyes are the seat of affections for Kali Carb, especially after coition, after pollution, abortion, measles, etc. Any infectious disease, any disease that happens, it weakens the eyes, think of Kali Carb. Toothache only when eating, which is throbbing like of pain, aggravated by touching anything warm or cold. So once you read that cannot bear to be touched, it's mentioned in bold in Allen's keynotes. So that applies to every symptom everywhere in different parts of the body, whether it is cold and cough, toothache, stomach complaints, respiratory, or anything. Okay. So anywhere you go and you find that they cannot bear to be touched by anything external or internal, then the remedy is Kali Carb. Cough which is dry, paroxysmal, loosens viscid mucus, or pus which must be swallowed, spasmodic with gagging or vomiting of ingesta, hard, white or smoky masses fly through the throat when coughing. Remedy is Kali Carb. It's in Kali group of remedies. The cough or the expectoration is usually accumulated in one place like a ball of mucus. Kali bichromicum, we saw that it is accumulated in clinkers and plugs. In Kali Carb, there is nothing less than similar, but it flies from the throat when they cough. So it ejects like a bolus. The other two remedies over here being Badiaga and Chelidonium. So you can ask patients when they expectorate if it is dragging their expectoration to few moments or it's just in once and it's cleared. If it is once and it's cleared, think about Kali Carb. Asthma which is relieved when sitting up, bending forward or by rocking, works between 2 to 4 am. So this is a very strong modality again which comes again and again in every spear, 2 to 4 am. And persons who are suffering from ulceration of the lungs can scarcely get well without this antisoric. So you need to give this remedy to people who keep getting respiratory diseases, especially of the chest. There is a tendency of the heart to fatty degeneration. Phosphorus is the other remedy. As if suspended by thread. Now this is a sensation which is very subjective. It will come once in a while, maybe 1 in million cases. The other remedy being lachesis. Stomach is distended, sensitive, feels as if it would burst. Excessive flatulency. This is like the remedy Carbo-Veg. So Kali Carb and Carbo-Veg are very complementary remedies. Carbo-Veg and phosphorus are very complementary remedies. Wherever you think the other remedy will complement or finish the cure if the symptoms have not improved. Everything she tastes or eats or drinks appears to be converted to gas. Iodine is the another remedy. Difficult swallowing, sticking pain in the pharynx as of a fish bone. We saw this also in Hepar sulf. We will see this in nitric acid when we take this up. Food easily gets into the windpipe, pain in the back when swallowing. So there is an extension of pain from one part to the another, just like we saw in Phytolacca, and that is why people who are obese will need Kali Carb. People who are obese, if they have joint complaints, they will need Phytolacca, they will need Bravia. Constipation, stool large, difficult with stitching, colic pains an hour or two before before the urge for stool happens. And there is also backache, which is with the sweating, weakness, and after abortion, labor, metrorrhagia, when eating, while walking, feels as if she must give up and lie down. So there are, interesting symptoms about the backache. If the patient cannot straighten their back, think about thuja. There is only one remedy in Kent empathy. If they want to literally lie down or they cannot walk, they want to sit down, think about kalika. Kalika will be indicated in patients who have this kind of components, which are having backache, lot of perspiration, it happened after delivery. So you just have to connect those dots and things will start working for you when you give this remedy. Feels badly weak before menstruation, backache before and during menses, labor pains are insufficient, there is lot of weakness in those areas, give Kalika, it will help, effect a good result, relax the muscles. Violent backache wants the back to be pressed, they will always sit behind, uh, just like the remedy causticum. Complementary remedy is carboveg, and compare bryonia, lyco, natramur, nitric acid and stanamate. And kalicap follows well after Kalisulf, phosphorus, stanamate in loose and rattling cough. I already talked to you about carboveg and phosphorus being very close to kalicap. And one of the very interesting things is that when you think that patient needs natramur and you have given natramur for the failed appearance of menses, but natramur has not worked, think about Kalika. It is bound to work. It will give a cure. This is what Hahnemann says. I have probably given natramur and got the result. So far, I am not got stuck up with natramur. If you do get stuck up, think about Kalika as a remedy. So I hope you all are getting ideas about continuation of how you can study daily and get the benefit of it, and that's what we should do. It's study in a streak, study related remedies, compare and differentiate, and that's what will take you further. And we'll meet up again tomorrow with new set of remedies. So till then, goodbye from me.